الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Alhamdulillah, we begin by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this opportunity for us to continue with our lesson in Muqaddimah Hadramiyyah, and we pray that Allah bless us in this blessed night of Jummah with forgiveness and answering our prayers. May Allah purify our hearts and bless us with goodness in dunya and akhirah, husnul khitam, and protect us from difficulties in dunya and akhirah. Ameen Ya Rabbil Alameen. So in our last lesson, we have completed the chapter on Jummah prayers, and the last thing that we mentioned is pertaining to masbuq. This is what the author mentioned on so many of the rulings when it comes to the latecomer, that the condition for Jummah differs from other prayers, that if a person comes late and he does not get one rak'ah with the imam, he does not get the ruku of the second rak'ah with the imam, he does not get Jummah. So it is compulsory upon him to pray 4 rak'ah after the salam of the imam. But when it comes into the intention, he make the intention of Jummah. It is not permissible for him to make the intention of Dhuhr. It is wajib upon him to make the intention of Jummah. But when the imam does the salam, then he has to pray 4 rak'ah, not 2 rak'ah. But if a person gets any ruku with the imam, minimum the second rak'ah, he gets the ruku with the imam, then he gets Jumu'ah. So after the imam does the salam, he performs one rak'ah. So this is basically a summary of what the author mentioned in the last part or the last paragraph of the end of this chapter. So today, inshallah ta'ala, we will move on to Babu Salatul Khawf. So we are going to speak about prayer when in fear. Salatul Khawf. It is important for us to differentiate between Salatul Khawf and Salatul Shiddatul Khawf. And we have Salatul Khawf and what is known as Shiddatul Khawf. So we have a type in prayer, Salatul Khawf, prayer because of fear. And then we have any type in your prayer due to immense fear. So we have Shiddatul Khawf and Al Khawf. A simple example will be Salatul Khawf, and usually our ulama speaks about when there is a battle between the Muslims and the non-Muslims, for example. There is a battle. So sometimes the enemy is at the direction of the Qibla, sometimes it is not at the direction of the Qibla. So this is Salatul Khawf which we speak about. But if the Muslims and the enemy is engaging in battle in the battlefield, then this is Salat Shiddatul Khawf. Shiddatul Khawf carries a very different ruling than Salatul Khawf. And there are other aspects or similarities when it comes to Shiddatul Khawf that is mentioned by so many of our scholars, which I believe the author also will mention some of it in the end of this chapter. So inshallah ta'ala we will read first and with tawfiq. So can one of you read?
بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. قال المصنف رحمه الله تعالى ونفعنا به وبعلومه في الدارين. باب صلاة الخوف. إذا التحم القتال المباح أو هربا مباحا من حبس وعدو وسبع أو ذب عن ماله، نذر في ترك القبلة وكثرة الأفعال والركوع والإيمان بالركوع والسجود أخطأ ولا يعذر في الصيام.
So the author began by saying إذا التحم القتال. There are some difference in text that I have from the one that you are reading. But ala kulli hal, this is more complete. إذا التحم القتال المباح. So the author mentioned al-qital al-mubah. So qital al-mubah, it is a battle based on a cause in Islam that is accepted. So in Islam we have al-jihad fi sabilillah and qitalu ahli al-bura, for example. So we have al-jihad fi sabilillah, jihad fi sabilillah is only if the enemy is not any Muslim. This is al-jihad fi sabilillah. But if the enemy is a Muslim, like in the case of qitalul bura, for example, in fiqh we have a chapter of al-bura, like in the case of Sayyidina Ali bin Abi Talib and the Khawarij, and there is a battle between Sayyidina Ali bin Abi Talib and Khawarij. So this carries any different any ruling. But is it any a battle that is permitted in Islam? Yes, and it is permitted in Islam. Likewise, Sayyidina Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, he wanted to engage war any with those who does not pay the zakah. So this is any a type any of qitalul mubah. Rukhsa yani is given if yani the type any of battle any is accepted any in Islam. So the author any mentioned idal tahamal qital. Yani now any is speaking any about the battlefield. Yeah, if the Muslims and the enemy is engaging any in the battlefield, awishtad al khawf, and there is any immense any fear. Aw haraba haraban mubahan min habsin, yani a person yani flee from captivity, and it is something that is permitted any in Islam. Yani a person is done any injustice to, yani he is caught any by the enemy and is imprisoned any without a valid any reason. So he ran away any from prison, and while any running away any he performs any prayer. This is shiddatul khawf. This is also any permissible, because any days there is a cause. Aw aduin, a person any runs away any from an enemy. Aw sabu'in, runs away any from what you call it, wild animals. Aw sail, or running any away any from the flood. Aw dabba zaliman an malihi wa nahwi dhalika, or yani a person who is trying any to run any after any a person who is zalim, yani who is stealing any his money. So all these things any the author any mentioned udhira fi tarkil qiblati. So basically what any the author any begins with any is shiddatul khawf. The author any begins any with shiddatul khawf. Earlier any mentioned there are two times, salatul khawf and salat shiddatul khawf. So he mentioned that the difference any is tarkul qibla. Shiddatul khawf, it is permissible any for a person not any to face the direction any of the qibla. Yani if a person any is in the battlefield any, for example, it is permissible for him not to face the qibla. So while any he is fighting, he is performing any his prayers. Yani while any he is running, while he is proning, while any he is walking, yani he recites any the Fatiha, he does any takbir, and then he does any the ruku and i'tidal in the situation any that he is in. Likewise any when comes any to the ruku and sujud any if he is able to. If he is not able to, then he does it by ishara. By ishara. And if he cannot any face any the qibla, he does not any face any the qibla. So this is any the situation of prayers of those who are in shiddatul khawf. So he gave any a few examples. A person who is in battlefield with the condition that the battle any is a valid one. And then he gave the example of what? Yani a person running away from the enemy or running away from captivity. A person any running away any from wild animals, running away any from lions or tigers, for example. He is praying. He can continue any of his prayers while running. Likewise, any a person is praying, somebody stole any his money. Yani he can chase any that person while any in prayers. This is salat and shiddatul khawf. So a person, if they ask, but he is running and it is more than 3 harakat, more any than 3 movements, he's not any facing any the qibla, this is forgiven. Yani no matter any how much movements any he does and he does not any face the direction of qibla, the prayer yani is still any considered to be valid. So this is what he mentioned, fi tarkil qiblati wa kasratil af'ali, not facing the qibla, wa kasratil af'al, having a lot any of movements, wa rukub, even to such an extent he is on a vehicle or on an animal. Wal ima'u bi ruku' wa sujud. So he gives an ishara. Ima here is ishara. Yani ishara yani either yani by yani his back or his head or yani his eyes. Was sujud akhfad. And when he does the sujud, yani he make it lower. Yani if he is using his body, and for example, yani he give any a lower yani movement and when it comes any to the sujud. Wala yu'adharu fi siyah. Lastly, the author any mentioned, but shouting any is not any a concession. Yani a person any shout while any performing any prayers, even in shiddatul khawf, the prayer becomes invalidated. Because why? This is nadir. Yani this is something that is not any frequent. Any, we ask any the question, any a person who is any in battle, is it necessary that he shout? This is not any something any that is necessary. But if a person any shout, then any this invalidate any the prayer. This is not considered to be to be a concession, because he has the ability to keep quiet. He has any the capacity, not any to shout. So that is why any the author any mentioned wala yu'daru fi siyah. When comes any to shouting, any it is not any given the concession. Now continue.
فصل يحرم الحرير والقز للذكر البالغ إلا لضرورة كجرد وحدة وقبل، ويحل المركب من حرير وغيره إن استويا في الوزن، وإلباس الصبي الحرير وحلي الذهب والفضة.
Now, before we go into this, I will just mention a few things with regard to Salatul Khawf. Earlier I mentioned there is Salatul Khawf and Salat and Shiddatul Khawf. Here the author speaks about Shiddatul Khawf. When it comes into Salatul Khawf, situation number one, this is a situation if the enemy is at the direction of the Qibla. If the enemy is at the direction of the Qibla, how do we pray? If the enemy is at the direction of the Qibla. Yani the author did not mention this in Muqaddimah Hadramiyyah. So we will speak about some of these rulings. If the enemy is at the direction of the Qibla, the Imam divide the Ma'mum with two categories, two parts. So we have the saf near to the Imam and the saf behind the Imam. So they are divided into two saf. They are divided into two parts. Yani the saf that is in the front end of the Imam, the saf that's back of the Imam. So when they perform the takbir, everybody perform takbir. The whole jama'ah Allahu Akbar. Tamam. But when the Imam does the ruku, only the first saf do the ruku with the Imam. The second saf look at the enemy. The second part look at the enemy. Here when I say saf, it's not necessarily one saf. So imagine if the army, for example, there are 60 saf. So meaning the first 30 follow the Imam. The second 30 do not do the ruku with the Imam. So the Imam does ruku, i'tidal, sujud, first sujud, sitting down in between two sujud, second sujud. The second jama'ah still standing, standing and face the enemy until the Imam goes up to the second rak'ah. Now the second jama'ah does the ruku and i'tidal and sujud and sitting to sujud and second sujud and catch up with the Imam in Qiyam. Catch up with the Imam in Qiyam. So this is the situation. The situation if the enemy is at the direction of the Qibla. Tamam? If the enemy is not at the direction of the Qibla, likewise the Imam divide the Jama'ah into two Jama'ah. So the first Jama'ah prays with the Imam. The first Jama'ah prays with the Imam. Then after the Imam goes up to the second rak'ah, the second Jama'ah who does not pray with the Imam, they are facing the enemy. The enemy is not at the direction of the Qibla. So here we can understand the wisdom here. Why is there always must be people who look at the enemy? Because the enemy will want that when you make any sujood, they attack. This will cause a great loss. And if you read in Asbab al-Nuzul in the Quran, there are verses in Suratul Khawf. If you read in Asbab al-Nuzul, because the Mushrikeen they are saying that the Asr prayer is coming, so the Muslims will pray the Asr prayers. So they say when they make sujood, we will attack. So they plan. And then Jibril alayhi salam came to the Prophet sallallahu and he taught him Salatul Khawf. So this is what the Prophet sallallahu did. So there are a few occasions. One occasion the enemy is at the direction of the Qibla. Another occasion the enemy is not at the direction of the Qibla. If the enemy is not in the direction of the Qibla, then the Imam divide the Jama'ah into two parts, same thing. But the first Jama'ah prays to the Imam one rak'ah. After the Imam he goes up to the Qiyam, second rak'ah, the Ma'mum continue with their prayers with the intention of Mufaraqah. They make the intention of Mufaraqah until the Salam. Until any Salam. After the Salam, they will go to the second Jama'ah who is guarding the congregation. So the second Jama'ah who is guarding now goes to become the Ma'mum. So now the Imam is waiting for them in Qiyam in the second rak'ah or the third rak'ah, and it depends. If they are praying 2 rak'ah, it is second rak'ah. If they have rubai, 4 rak'ah, then when the imam and it goes up to the third rak'ah, so they pray with the imam third rak'ah. And then when the imam completes any the prayer, the imam waits any for the ma'mum in tashahud akhir. The imam any wait any for the ma'mum any in tashahud any akhir. So the ma'mum continue any with their 1 rak'ah. And they make any salam any together any with the imam. So this is the prayer if the enemy is not at the direction of the qibla. So these are some of the things when comes any to Salatul Khawf. And then we have any Shiddatul Khawf any as what any we mentioned. But our ulama any mentioned why did the Prophet ﷺ any did so. And if you use any logic, the imam any can just any divide the jama'ah any into 2 parts. So or make the imam say, okay, we pray two jama'atan by 10. If the enemy any is not in direction of the qibla, so the first jama'ah any prays, and then the second jama'ah prays. But why any same imam? Why any the ruling any is such that the imam when goes up any to the second raka'ah, and then the ma'mum speed up any the prayer, make the intent mufaraqah, and then the second any jama'ah gets any to be the ma'mum any of the same any imam. Correct or not? Same any imam. The reason any is this, because the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, when they want to perform any prayers, all of them want to perform prayers with the Prophet ﷺ. So that is why when you look any at the ruling of Salatul Khawf, it is 1 imam. It is 1 imam. This shows any that the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, they have any zeal when comes any to praying behind the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam any being fair any to all of them. So all of them any became any his ma'mum. But of course, even after the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this is permissible. This is any the sunnah. But it can also any be done any 2 separate jama'ah, no problem. It can also any be done any with 2 separate any jama'ah. Then any the author any speaks any about clothings, fil libas. The author any mentioned that it is not any permissible for men any to wear silk, wal qaz. Yani silk any there are 2 types any of silk. We have any thin, or we say a harsh kind of silk, and a smooth any kind of silk. So this difference any between qaz and dibaj. So a person any might be saying, for example, the harsh any kind any of silk any it is permissible any for men because men any are rough. So why not any they wear any the rough what you call it, the rough type any of silk. So Islam do not differentiate any whether it is a smooth type any or it is any rough type. All any forms any of silk is not permissible any for men. So when we speak any about silk any, we are speaking about silk any that is extracted from silkworms. This is any the silk any that we are talking about. Not synthetic silk. Not synthetic silk, because out there in the market any there are silk is named any as silk any, but not any the natural silk. It is synthetic. Synthetic any silk any, is it permissible in for men to wear synthetic? Yes, and it is permissible. Has no any relation any with this any prohibition. So this prohibition any speaking any about silk any that is extracted any from silkworms. So this is any the situation. Lidhakari any for men, for women any no issue. Based on the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that the Prophet ﷺ any prohibited the wearing any of silk. So this is any ta'abudi. But of course our Prophet ﷺ mentioned that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has specified this clothing any for men in Jannah. So it is a test any for us. He mentioned the hadith, innahu haramun ala dhukuri ummati, that silk any is prohibited any for the men any of my ummah. Then any he mentioned illa li daruratin, unless any if there is a reason. Darura yani can be any in a situation anywhere a person any is facing a type of disease, yani skin disease. So if he wears cotton, the disease and it will become worse. The skin disease and it become worse. The doctor advised him, if you wear silk, then there is no issue. then this situation and we say it is permissible and for him and to wear silk. Another situation and he will be a person and he has no clothing. He say, if I do not wear silk, I'll be naked. If I do not wear silk, because there's only silk and I can wear. Khalas, and if we say wear silk and do not any be naked. Now and we say it is forgiven and because this in the state of emergency. And likewise for warfare, certain types of clothing are made of rough silk. This will deter the sword from penetrating the clothes. It is permissible when comes into warfare. So this is what the author mentioned. Aw hajatin ka jarabin. Jarab is a type of skin disease, where a person is always itchy. Aw hakkatin, hakka also is type of a disease where a person keep on rubbing his skin. Aw qummal. Qummal is this what you call it? We call it kutu ini apa? Mais apa? Lice. Qummal lice. Ini a person experiencing any lice a lot on the body. And still he said that it prevent the lice from coming. In this situation it is permissible and we come to haja. So we have darura and haja. Darura in a situation where a person has no clothing except for silk. Al haja meaning as for there is a need to do so. It is also permissible. Wa yahilul murakkab min harir wa ghayrihi in istawaya fil wazni. When it comes into silk, there is any percentage. If it is more than 50%, then only it's not permissible. So if a person is wearing a shirt and he made of silk, so we ask the content of the shirt. If the content of the shirt 60% cotton, 40% silk, can wear. 50% silk, 50% cotton, can wear. Permissible. This is with the meaning of istawaya, al-wazn, in terms of the wazn. The content and the percentage, we say this is permissible, 50% and 50%. But if silk is more, then it is not any permissible. Why is this so? Because during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, so many of the kings of Persia, not Persia, Muqawqis, the king of Egypt at that time, gave a jubbah to the Prophet ﷺ, and there are traces of silk. So here our ulama they differ. They differ on their permissibility of this kind of silk. So they mentioned that if it is a little, it is forgiven. If it is a little. But it is more than 50%, it is not any permissible. But this is in the case of murakkab. What is the meaning of murakkab? I do not know in English what we say. Like when a person is sewing, so there will be this mixture, correct? No, mixture of threads. This is tarkib. Tamam. There is a difference between patches. If I put a patch of silk and I do sewing, correct or not? Sewing and it comes from thread. So when it comes into tarkib, and we speak about percentage. But when it comes into patches, it should not be more than arba asabi'. Arba asabi' is 4 fingers. These 4 fingers. It cannot be more than this. If it is a patch. Clear, inshallah. So he mentioned وَيَحِلُّ الْمُرَكَّبُ مِنْ حَرِيرٍ وَغَيْرِهِ إِنِ اسْتَوَيَا فِي الْوَزْنِ. حرير and غيره. Harir, silk and other than silk. إِنِ اسْتَوَيَا فِي الْوَزْنِ. If the percentage is the same. وَإِلْبَاسُ الصَّبِي الْحَرِيرِ وَحُلِيَ الذَّهَبِ وَالْفِضَّةِ وَالْحَرِيرِ الْكَعْبَةِ وَالتَّطْرِيفُ مُعْتَادِ. All these are permissibilities. The author then mentioned that other than this, for men, it is permissible. Permissible and for who? It's sabi. A boy who has not reached any puberty, can he wear silk? Yes. Why? He's not a mukallaf. He's not a mukallaf, because one of the conditions of mukallaf is bulur, that he comes to the age of puberty. So this prohibition only applies to the mukallaf. So when it comes to sabi, it is permissible. Likewise, wearing of gold and silver. It is permissible for children who has not reached puberty to wear gold. We are speaking about boys, not girls, boys. It is permissible because why? They are not mukallaf. For girls, there is no issue. Even after puberty. For a woman, they can wear silk, they can wear gold, they can wear silver, no issue. It is also permissible to use silk for Kaaba. For Kaaba permissible, ta'zim. This is based on a verse in the Quran, وَمَا يُعَظِّمْ شَعَائِرَ اللَّهِ فَإِنَّهَا مِنْ تَقْوَى الْقُلُوبِ. Yani using any silk any for the Kaaba. This is any permissible. وَتَطْرِيفٌ مُعْتَادٌ. Tatrifun mu'tad. Here yani the author yani will speak any about what is any known any as tatrif. What is any the meaning of tatrif? Tatrif any comes any from what? Taraf. See, this is tatrif. The shirt when we sew any in this way. Yani normally our sleeves we will not. This is folded, correct or not? This is called tatrif, taraf, yani meaning it is at the end. So this part where the cloth any that is used any to close the sewing, this is tatrif. This is permissible. If this is made from silk, it is permissible because the jubba of the Prophet ﷺ in one narration, the tatrif is made any of silk, and this is a gift to the Prophet ﷺ from Muqawqis, if I'm not mistaken, either in Muqawqis or the Hirakla, yani this Roman Empire, maybe yani you can find out. So because any of this, our author, the author any mentioned, ulama any mentioned, and it is any permissible. So we have the meaning any of tatrif, and then any the author any mentioned there is another thing any that is called any tatriz. What is the meaning any of tatriz? Tatriz any is what any we meant any by making a patch. Making any a patch. Yeah, any meaning any we take any a cloth any of silk, and then we sew it any on our clothes. We sew it any on our clothes. This is called tatriz. Is this any permissible? This is any permissible if it is minimal. This is any permissible if it is any permissible. And if we have the hadith of Sahih Muslim, this mentioned in what you call it, the commentary, in Bushul Kareem. Hadith any of Ibn Abbas radiallahu an. He said, Naha Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam an lubsil harir. Yani the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam prohibited any wearing silk. La mawdi'a isba'in aw isba'aini aw thalatha aw thalathin aw arba'in. Yani the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam permitted yani silk if it is not more either any by 1 finger or 2 finger or 3 fingers or 4 fingers. So here any the author any mentioned any 4 fingers. 4 fingers. So how big any is 4 fingers? Yani if you take any your fingers any like this is any the size. So if a person any is doing any tatriz, it cannot be more than 4 fingers. Clear? What is the meaning of tatriz? There is a difference between tatriz and tatrif. Correct or not? Tatrif any is the end any of the clothes. This is permissible. Tatriz, patches. Yani patches. It cannot be more any than 4 fingers. Likewise, any the meaning any of tarqi'. Tarqi' any is putting any a cloth any because any of thorn. Yani when there is any a thorn, imagine any if my jubba any there is a thorn, there is a hole for example. So I put any a cloth any to cover. This is in Arabic any we call it tarqi'. But what is the difference any between takriz and tarqi'? Tarqi' is for decoration. Takriz and is for decoration. Tarqi' it is for what? Closing something. So for all of this any what is forgiven any is arba' asabi'. This is what the author any mentioned. What do you say? Yani he say qadra arba'i asabi' wa hashwun wa khiyatatun bihi. Likewise, it is any permissible yani to do hashw. Hashw yani meaning to put any silk any in between any clothes. In between. Hashw. And then wa khiyata. Khiyata yani sewing. Yani we using a thread any of silk. This is permissible. When it comes into the clothes, that's what we mentioned based on the percentage. Correct not? Based on the percentage. Then he mentioned wa khaytu subhatin. if a person any using tasbih, subha, the thread any of the subha is made of silk, it is permissible. Wal julus alayhi fawqa ha'il. Is it permissible any to sit any on silk? It is permissible any of the condition of ha'il. Ha'il meaning, yani for example, and if I'm sitting here, this carpet is ha'il. If below this carpet there is silk, no problem. If below this carpet there is silk, no problem. But if I am sitting any on silk, it's not permissible. If I am sitting any on silk, it is not any permissible. Clear, inshallah. The word any hashu can be understood any like if we have a pillow. If we put any silk any under a cover, and then we sleep any on that pillow, this is called hashu. Clear, inshallah. This is any permissible, because any you are not directly on any the silk. Likewise, any when comes any to sitting down. So when comes any to sitting down, it is permissible if there is a ha'il, yani something any that covers. Otherwise, any it is not permissible based on the hadith. Now continue.
ويحرم على الرجل المزعفر والمعصفر ويسن التختم بالفضة للرجل دون مثقال في الخنصر واليمنى أفضل ويكره نزول الثوب من الكعبين ويحرم للخيلاء ويكره لبس الثياب الخشنة لغير غرض شرعي.
Then in the author he mentioned وَيَحْرُمُ عَلَى الرَّجُلِ الْمُزَعْفَرُ وَالْمُعَصْفَرُ. It is not permissible any for men to wear muza'far. What is the meaning of muza'far? Muza'far, and it comes in from the word za'faran. What is za'faran? Za'faran is saffron. So what is any cloth any that is muza'far? Meaning if I take any my jubba and I put it in saffron and I leave it. So after some time, what happens? It will be dyed with saffron. This is not permissible. Why? Because this kind of clothing is specifically for women. This kind of clothing is specifically for women. Likewise, any mu'asfar. Mu'asfar is a type of it is a type of herb like saffron. It is a kind of saffron. So these two types of herbs, it is not permissible. Why? Because normally woman uses it. And this is also based on the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. La'anallahu al-mutashabbihina bin nisa. Allah curse any men who imitate any woman in clothing, and this is any part of it. Yani muza'far and mu'asfar. So it is not permissible for men to wear such clothing. Then he mentioned wa yusannu takhattumu bil fiddati li rajuli duna al misqal. At takhattum bil fiddah, yani wearing a ring. Our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, yani he wears a ring made of silver. There is a story behind it, because he wanted to send letters to the kings. So it is said to him that the kings will not accept the letter except if there is khatam. There is a stamp. So the Prophet ﷺ, he took a ring and he engraved it with Muhammad Rasul Allah, and it is made of silver that is used to stamp any letters. So this ring is worn by the Prophet ﷺ. After the death of the Prophet ﷺ, it is worn by Abu Bakr radiallahu anh. And then after the death of Abu Bakr, it is passed to Sayyidina al-Khattab. After Sayyidina al-Khattab, it is passed to who? Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu anh. After 6 years in the Khilafah of Uthman radiallahu anh, it fell into a well that is called Aris in Medina. And this is mentioned by Imam Tirmidhi in Shama'il. And then they dug for 3 days and 3 nights. They dug to get back this ring, but cannot be found. So our ulama mentioned this is an indication, the beginning of fitna for Sayyidina Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu anh. Then the fitna of Khawarij happened after 6 years in the Khilafah of Sayyidina Osman ibn Affan radiyallahu an. Today, what we have it is a replica. Until today, the ring cannot be found. The ring that is used to stamp the letters to the kings. So this is one of the rings of the Prophet ﷺ. So since the Prophet wears silver, so our ulama mentioned that this is exceptional. So it cannot be more than one ring. Cannot be more than one ring. Here, the author is inclined to the opinion of one misqal. We just covered this in Fathul Mu'in. In Fathul Mu'in, the author mentioned 2 qawl. The first opinion, the author mentioned that it is based on uruf. How do we know how much silver that you can wear for men? It is based on uruf. The second opinion mentioned misqal. There is misqal. So misqal is how many grams? One misqal is 4 1/4. 4 1/4. So the author here is inclined into this opinion. One misqal. Anything that is more than one misqal, not permissible. Anything that is more than one misqal is not permissible. So he said, وَيُسَنُّ تَخَتُّمُ بِالْفِضَّةِ لِرَجُلِ دُونَ الْمِثْقَالِ وَفِي الْخِنْصِرِ الْيُمْنَ أَفْضَلِ. This is khinsir. We have khinsir, khinsir, binsir. Tamam? So this is khinsir, the pinky finger. This is pinky finger. This is binsir. This is al-wusta, sababa, ibham. Al-wusta, makruh to wear ring in al-wusta. For binsir, this is sunnah, but here the author mentioned better is khinsir. Khinsir is the pinky finger. So it is makruh to wear in sababa, the index finger, al-wusta, and ibham. And better to wear it on the right hand, because the Prophet ﷺ loved anything that is right. وَيُكْرَهُ نُزُولُ الثَّوْبِ عَنِ الْكَعْبَيْنِ. This is لِلْخُيَلَاء. نعم وَيَحْرُمُ ذَلِكَ لِلْخُيَلَاء. Makruh if we wear clothes that covers our ankles. Because we have hadith of the Prophet ﷺ where he prohibited the Sahaba covering the clothes below the ankles, because the pagans, the Arabs last time, they do it out of pride. So the Arabs, they will wear clothes that will sweep the floor. So to them this is a sign of wealth and honor. Sign of wealth and honor. So when the Prophet ﷺ came, the Prophet ﷺ taught us that this is due to khuyala, it is haram. But if a person wears it not because of khuyala, it is makruh. Not because of khuyala. Not because of being arrogant. Normally nowadays, when people wear pants, for example, are they doing it because of arrogance? No, because of the norm. Nowadays, it becomes a norm that when people wear pants, they wear pants covering all the way to the shoes. People regard wearing pants above the ankle is something that is what you call it, weird, correct? But nowadays maybe that custom change. Nowadays even non-Muslims when they wear pants, wallahu alam, I see outside, they wear above their ankles. Maybe the trend is changing. But normally that is not the way that people wear their pants. But if a person do that not for the sake of arrogance, then here the author mentioned it is makruh. But if because khuyala, because of arrogance, then it becomes haram. وَيُكْرَهُ لُبْسُ الثِّيَابِ الْخَشِنَةِ لِغَيْرِ غَرَضٍ شَرْعِيٍّ. It is makruh also to wear rough clothing, like clothing from wool, without any religious reason. A person wears it without any reason that is seen by the Sharia as something that is recommended. It is makruh. There is a scholar from India, and he wrote a book, and his book at one point of time he became like known worldwide. He wrote a book Rabbaniyah la rahbaniyah. Rabbaniyah la rahbaniyah. Yani he said Islam is a religion of Rabbaniyah and not a religion of Rahbaniyah. What is the difference? You see, Rahbaniyah are monks. Rahbaniyah. Yani if you look at monks they will deprive themselves from wearing slippers, keeping hair. They shave their hair bald. And then they will only wear one type of clothing, that like the ihram. Correct or not? And when you look at the monks, they can only live in a monastery. They cannot get married. This is Rahbaniyah. Difficult, tough. Just like in Christianity also they have this, the nuns. Correct or not? In Roman Catholic, the Orthodox Church, the nuns cannot get married. Likewise, the priests, they cannot get married. So this is type of Rahbaniyah. This type of Rahbaniyah. Yani they deprive themselves with a lot of things. So the author mentioned Islam is not Rahbaniyah. Islam doesn't command you or recommend that you stay in a cave and you spend your life in a cave, remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala until you die. This is not something that is recommended, but it can be done by some people if they chose it that way, if they don't have any responsibilities and so on, they chose that path. That is a personal choice, but it is not in Islam that we say that Islam encourage something like that. That Islam encourage that you don't get married, that you only wear one type of clothing, and that clothing must be rough so that you learn about zuhud. Can we preach like this to the masses? Cannot, because this is not from the teachings of Islam. But at the same time also it is not any haram. But if a person does it without any reason, then it becomes makruh. Clear, inshallah. So Islam is Rabbaniyah. Rabbaniyah meaning what is important in Islam is following the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. And the Prophet ﷺ taught us the importance of getting married. For example, we have the hadith, three persons came to the Prophet ﷺ. And then he said, I swear that I will not get married. Second person say, I swear that I will fast every day. They just entered into Islam. So he say he will fast every day. Another person say, I will not marry. One say, I will not marry. One say, I will fast every day. The other said, Wallahu alam, I think he said, I will do any qiyamul layl and I will not sleep. Yeah, he said, I will every night any qiyamul layl and without sleeping. Khalas, haram is for me to sleep. So the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, Ana atqakum, and I am the most God conscious of you all. I marry woman, I sleep any part of the night, and I fast on certain days and do not fast certain days. Then he said, Faman ghariba an sunnati falaysa minni. Those who does not follow my sunnah, then he is not from me. So the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ is Rabbaniyah. That is why in the Quran Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned the word Rabbaniyah. Wakunu fakunu rabbaniyina bima kuntum tu'allimun al-kitab wa bima kuntum tadgusun. So we are commanded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be Rabbani. What is the meaning of Rabbani? Yani a God-fearing person who follows the ways of prophets and messengers. Not the ways of Rahbaniyah, but at the same time also, as what I mentioned, Rahbaniyah can be permissible and recommended for some, due to specific reasons that they have. Clear, inshallah. Sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam.